Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we are going to have a quick look at digital minimalism. So what we want to look at here is, I've talked on this channel in the past. In fact, I have an entire playlist on minimalism, which I cover digital, physical, a variety of different things. And minimalism means different things to different people. There's different ways to do it. We're going to have a look at a video here that I love the way he did it. I love a lot of what he does, except for the fact that he's using all closed source software. He does a couple of things that I would advise against, but I love what he did overall. And this is a great starting point, and it's a great video overall. What we're going to look at here is one person's approach. And remember, this is one person's approach. And I'm going to tell you what my approach is. So hopefully a few different approaches will help you figure out what you want to do with digital minimalism. So the video we are going to have a look at here, it is called Digital Minimalism, How to Simplify Your Online Life. And this is from Craig Adams. And I don't know much about this guy other than he is a photographer. He does video portfolios for weddings, things like that. And he's also a minimalist. And so that's kind of how I found his channel, is that there's a lot of minimalism things on there. I'm seeing that background might be a little distracting. Let me, since we're going to be in that for a little bit, so let me find a background that's less distracting. There we go, that's a better. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look through a few different clips. So the first clip is about a 20-second part where he's defining minimalism, and I absolutely love his definition. Have a listen to this.
I want to start off by saying that I don't think minimalism is just about owning less things. It's about finding out what you value and then working hard to just focus on those things and then cut away all the fat and distractions that are keeping you from that focus.
Okay, so that's what he says, defining minimalism. And that's the thing, because a lot of people think minimalism means I'm just throwing away everything. And that's not what minimalism means. What minimalism means is it means that you are evaluating what is important and you're getting rid of the stuff that's not important. For some people, having tons and tons and tons and tons of books is important. For others, we don't want a lot of those laying around. And so we have a lot of this discussion back and forth about what is important and what is not important in the various things that we're looking at here. And so I wanted to start with his definition of minimalism because it was such a good definition. I love what he said about that. And so what he's focusing on here is digital minimalism. Now, he uses exclusively Apple and Google services for his digital minimalism. That's the part where I start saying, I don't like that option. And A, I don't like the option because of the data tracking. B, I don't like the option because you're putting your stuff on other people's servers. And three, I don't like the option because it is very possible that you may either violate or perceive to violate some terms and conditions somewhere, and then just go, and your entire digital life has vanished. Do not put yourself in that position. Do not rely on these big companies for storing your data. And it doesn't have to do with the fact that it's Google or it's Apple. It has to do with the fact that you don't control that. You don't own that. All right. And so what we're going to look at there is we're going to next have a look at what he does with his phones. So we have here about a 30-second clip here on how he backs up his smartphone.
Thing that's main is the iOS files. So 33 gigabytes. What is that? So that is actually my 64 gigabyte iPhone backed up to my computer. And you might be wondering, why don't you back up in the cloud? I don't do that because if I did that, I would have to pay for it. I am using iCloud, but just enough to get away without paying. I have 5 gigabytes for free, and I'm mainly using that for just cloud email.
Okay, so that's a great thing about his approach. If you're a low budget, and you don't have the ability to set up your own third-party systems, this is a decent thing to do, in that what he's talking about here is he manages to do most of all of his stuff without having to pay for it, because he keeps a very intentional eye on the different things. And that's one of the things about minimalism. Be intentional. Being intentional is key. He intentionally keeps an eye on how much he has available with each service, and then utilizes the services in different ways. So what he's doing is he says in here, and we're going to play the clip, but what he ends up going on to say here is he says that he uses the iCloud backup just for his mail backup and a few miscellaneous documents. He ends up doing everything else on his computer, and then the computer backs up everything to Google Drive. We will have a look at that. So with that being said, what do I do? Because of course I'm running a Nexus 5 currently I'm running Lineage. I had Copperhead on it. And I love the Copperhead build. It's more secure than Lineage. There were just a few things that Lineage did that I had to have my phone doing that Copperhead didn't. And I have a video about that. But what you can do with this, whether you're running Copperhead, whether you're running your own stock Google or Lineage or whatever else, you can replace the bootloader on most devices with TWRP. TWRP, and that's an acronym for something, I forget what it is. And what TWRP is a custom bootloader, and the cool thing about it is you can go in there and you can push backup. It's going to create a backup file. Then I take this item, I plug it into the computer, and I can pull that one folder off and store it in an archive. Now, when I decided that I wanted to go back to Lineage from Copperhead, all I had to do is move that file back onto the device, push the restore button, and in 5 minutes my phone was exactly every app, every file, every picture, every setting what it was before I wiped it to put Copperhead on it. So creating those backups, and that's essentially what he's doing. Now he's using an iPhone, he's using a Mac, so he's using iTunes, so he's doing all of that kind of stuff. And what I'm doing is different in that everything of my phone is disconnected. I'm not relying on anybody's service for that. As long as I have a copy of TWRP that'll go on the system compatible with the backup file that I have, and those two things, the copy of TWRP that I need and the file, is sitting right next to each other in my backup archive. So that's kind of what we're doing the same, we just use it a different way. I'm doing it with TWRP, copying the files. He's doing it with iTunes. Either ones those are good. As far as syncing you can do your mail, you can do your calendars, you can do your contacts, you can do your pictures, all of that kind of stuff. Every bit of that you can do on a custom Nextcloud build. And I have some videos about how to do Nextcloud. But what you can do with your Nextcloud build is you can sync all of that kind of stuff up, and you don't even have to get in there and my train of thought has derailed. My apologies. With Nextcloud, you can sync everything up, and it's not owned by anybody else. That's where I was getting at. You control that install. You're buying a server space, and we'll talk about why you'd want to do that rather than using Google services or Apple services that are already set up for you here in a little bit. But utilizing all those, you can keep everything that's important, your photos, your files, things like that, syncing directly between your phone and your own personal private Nextcloud build. And then what I end up doing is my phone has a very minimal amount of files. I do not keep a lot of stuff on here. If I go out and take fabulous pictures, I pull those pictures off of the device before long. And so that's kind of what I'm doing as far as that is concerned. So let's go ahead and have a look at his next function. This is kind of how he manages his computer stuff, I think.
As I'm using Google Drive. So you can see Google Drive running as an app up here, but its folder is local on my computer and in the cloud and on my PC because I have selective sync. So actually, this is everything that is in the cloud, and it's just synced onto my computer. You can pick exactly what you want to sync to the computer, which for me is everything, and it's assets.
All right. So there he's talking about utilizing the Google Drive to auto-sync everything to with his computer. I will point out that Nextcloud has the exact same function. Now, if you happen to have a system that is based on GNOME, like GNOME, Cinnamon, Budgie, any of those types of things, then you can actually come up into your settings, and if you go into your settings, you have a feature here called Online Accounts, and you can actually attach your Nextcloud account. It should be on there. I think you can probably use the own cloud, but you can connect to Nextcloud. I know I do it on my other system. I'm not sure why Nextcloud's not showing up right here. But you can connect your Nextcloud account to this system, and what that will do is that will give you an individual file when right exactly where you need that file. Like I said, my production web design computer, I do that. You also have the ability to download a client for Nextcloud, which works with Mac, it works with Windows, it works with Linux, and then you can auto set certain folders, all folders, whatever folders to automatically sync with your cloud. So you always have the exact same functionality he's doing here. You just are doing it without relying on Google services or Apple services. You're doing it on a Nextcloud build. So I'll just point out that we're essentially doing that the same way. It's just that Nextcloud does it on your own personal private server without having to rely on Google services at all. All right, so here he's actually going to say something that is incorrect, so I want to play this part.
And then Gmail's not using anything, because we all have to have a Gmail account pretty much if you want a YouTube channel or Google Drive or Google Photos.
Okay, we're going to stop there. You do not have to have a Gmail account. I do not own any Gmail accounts. I have a couple of YouTube accounts. I have Google services attached to several of my other businesses. I do not own a single Gmail account. Okay, you can attach any email address as your account to sync to a Google account. You do not have to have Gmail. In fact, I generally advise against having the Gmail account unless you absolutely need to. And we're going to get a little bit more into email earlier. But just to be aware, you do not have to have this. And the reality is, I am not a big fan of all these cloud email servers showing up all over the place. I use them minimally. Like I said, I don't have any Gmails. I have a Proton Mail account that gets used for testing. I have a couple Hotmail accounts for junk spam stuff, but everything else is my own self-hosted email, which is certainly a better option. We'll talk a little bit more about email at the last section here. Next, I love this part. This is something I've not done that I would like to do. And he's going to talk here about cleaning up bookmarks, minimizing your screen, and things like that.
Every tab I open, it brings me to this favorites. So I've handpicked these websites because I use them the most. Like 90% of the time, I'm just going to pick one of these. So it's really quick to go to my frequently used websites. And look at the top. You'll notice that there's just like absolutely nothing at the top. I don't need any buttons or anything. And
stop there. So you can just kind of see what he's doing here is he's cleaning his things up. He runs all of his apps in full screen mode on a Mac. He handpicks all of his bookmarks. His bookmarks tab isn't this unorganized, crazy, cluttered mess of everything he ever thought was cool on the internet. He keeps it very clean, very minimal, very, very nice and tight. That's something I would like to do that I don't. In reality, I do that with my toolbars are very clean and neat. Bookmarks on my web design computer, the old Windows one I've had around for 10 years, yeah, that bookmark collection is kind of a hot and happy mess. So that's kind of the case with that. But that's kind of what he does there with those parts. Now, he does a whole section here, which is much more relevant to just how he does his business with his video production stuff. So we're going to skip over that because it doesn't apply to most people. But what we're going to do is we're going to drop back down to, I'm trying to get to 42. There we are. What he's going to say here, this is kind of where I kind of part ways, and I advise maybe back off just a little on this. Come up with a slightly different strategy, and I'll tell you what I do.
Where do I upload that? I upload that to YouTube. So I've got 441 videos here. On your end, you're not going to see all of those videos because a lot of these just like these podcast videos are archives. They're private, they're unlisted, they're not public. They're just for me to keep here in case I ever want to just download it or use it or make it public or do whatever I want. I think YouTube is a great place to store your video archives because you can just download it in pretty good quality from MP4 right here. It's compressed. Or if you want, you can download with, I think, Google Takeout, all of your original files that were uploaded to the Google servers.
Okay, so what he's saying there is the only thing he's doing to use to store his videos, every one of his videos is only on his YouTube account. That is horribly, horribly dangerous. All right, fuzzy snake. Horribly, horribly dangerous because YouTube's fickle. YouTube is a business. YouTube might be sold. YouTube might close down. And if that's the case, you don't want to get into the situation where now you're in a scramble to download everything you've ever put up there. And in some cases, you couldn't. I mean, how many terabytes of data do I have? Well, I have an approximate estimation because I have the vast majority of those things all saved. This is dangerous. This is the part I would recommend do not do, okay? A spare hard drive is $50. Get a spare hard drive. Now, this is an internal one. You can get an internal hard drive and get an internal enclosure, or it's about the same price. Just pick up one of these guys. This is a 2 terabyte drive. This will store all my videos for about 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, depending. So, and that cost me $60. So it's good to keep these around, and that's kind of where we kind of start to differ. Let's just go ahead and talk about this a little bit here before we dive into a lot of other things. Spend a little bit of time on this part. So as far as your files are concerned, what you want to do in this case is you want to have a few of these. And what I would probably do is pick up, if you can, save up a little bit for it, pick up 4 of these, 2 to 4. The reason why is depending on what you're doing. So for me, I'm doing a lot of video stuff. That's why I want 4, okay? So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have one of these, which is a backup archive of all my videos. And actually, I'm going to have 2 of those in production, okay? And then I'm going to have another hard drive, which is effectively my, this is effectively my backup computer, which contains all of my files, which contains personal files, sensitive files, everything, every part of my digital life ever, cleanly organized in its own operating system. Currently, I'm running Linux Mint Mate, and it is on an encrypted drive. This contains tax files, it contains photos, it contains music, it contains everything. And then I have another one of these, which is used for my NAS. My NAS contains all my media files, so any video, any audio, any photos, all that kind of stuff. And any transitional files, any files I'm currently working on is all on my private NAS. My NAS is set up so if I get one of these external hard drives, I plug it in, it makes an immediate mirror of this drive. And then what you want is you want 2 of these. Like I said, you have 2 for each backup instance you have. Your backup instance goes to a safety deposit box at a bank or a friend's house, somewhere else where they're not at yours, an off-site secure location that you trust. And then what you do is once a month, you have your other one, which is a local backup. You make all your backups, sync your files, make a day of it, and then you go out to your safety deposit box or your friend's house and you swap the old ones for the new ones. And that way you always have a month worth of archives local and a month worth of archives off-site. That is how you manage everything without having to rely on a big company. Is this slightly more work and slightly more stuff? Yes, but this is worth the possible risk of losing everything because Google has lost their mind. That's why it's important. But you want to have a couple of those in production so that you have one local, you have one off-site, and you're rotating them about once a month or every other month. It depends on how frequently you're changing things. Once a quarter at least, because if something bad goes on, that's kind of tragic. But if something bad goes on and you've only lost the last month of your life, that's a whole lot less tragic than losing everything. And his model, you're losing everything if Google goes a little haywire. That's something to keep in mind there. And so let's go ahead and jump back over and look at his next part, which is starting at 11:53, I think.
Before just forwarding all of my Gmail emails to my Apple account, and that's what this is. I practice inbox zero.
All right. So he's talking here about his emails. He's forwarding all of his emails over to his Apple Mail, and he practices what is called inbox zero. So inbox zero is something I personally don't practice. Inbox zero is when you always shoot to have your inbox at nothing. I don't do this because for me, saving all of those archives of email, and by the way, his emails are saved. He just moves them from his inbox into his archive where you can find and search them. So it's kind of the same thing, but the archive then becomes a hot and happy mess as well. I go through and I delete any completely unimportant emails. I clear out all of the emails in my system after about 6 months to a year's time is good. I'll delete everything in the archive. I don't need archives going back that long in most instances. Now what he's doing is he's using his cloud-based emails. Again, I don't like cloud-based emails. I don't want my emails run and managed by other people. That's why I buy servers and I use those servers. So that's kind of what I do with that. Let's talk real briefly about, here about the servers. Why would I buy a server from somebody to host Nextcloud on it rather than just use a server that's already set up for that purpose? Well, the reason is when you have an instance like Nextcloud built on in a server that I've purchased from somebody, that server is a general purpose server. They're not tapping in any of the data that they have. In theory, some of them could. I know that my servers where I have mine at, they can't access them because I have taken root access of my servers. If they need to get in there and do something, they need to request the password from me. On top of that, your Nextcloud is end-to-end encrypted. And that's very important in that you have that encryption going on that even if they can access the files or the database, they still can't see what's in there. I know, I tried. I downloaded a copy of the thing to see if I can make any sense of it, and it's good. It's well encrypted. And so Nextcloud is a great way to go, and I would put it on a hosting account because the hosting account gives you, first is it gives you a place to manage your emails. It gives you a place to build your Nextcloud install, maybe throw up a website, maybe throw up, I talked about before, having a personal family-only social media site. All of this is stuff you can do with your own servers. And so, of course, who do I use for servers? I actually have been working on getting affiliate links, and so now I have some affiliate links for some hosting companies. So let me walk you through a couple of good accounts, and then I'm going to put, right after the video's done, I'm going to go ahead and put the affiliate links for these in the links below. So I'm going to talk about 3 different options. Now, when I went into getting the affiliate links, I didn't just get affiliate links for groups that were like, hey, these guys pay well, let's just spam everybody with tons of affiliate links. I only went with companies that either I have used or have very high reputation, like HostGator, Bluehost. These are all EIG companies. They have good payouts for affiliate links, but they're horrible services. I wouldn't send anybody to those. All right, so I'm going to walk you through the 3 that I have affiliate links for, and I'll put those affiliate links down in the description as soon as we're done with this. All right. So the first is A2 Hosting. I like A2 Hosting overall. I've been very happy with them. I host a VPS over there where I run all of my client servers, all of their email addresses. I have my main Nextcloud install over there. There are a lot of different things I have running on these. Of course, most guys are going to get you, a really good starting price, and then the regular prices go up. If you're kind of a not need a lot of server space, getting one of these VPSs is good. Of course, they are costly. So you need to determine if that's worth it for you. For me, it is, because I host about 30 or 40 people's websites, and their business pays for my server space. I don't have to go out of pocket. If you're just doing a single family or a single person, you might think about doing a shared one with a dedicated IP. You want that dedicated IP because if you're doing it for email, you want to be able to whitelist your IP address. You don't want anybody else using your IP address. And so using their basic plan is going to be enough for getting a single family site running. And so if you click on the full details down here, you'll see that you can get, this gets one website, 5 databases. So you could run a Nextcloud build. Not sure where's your emails at. Okay, so there's 25 different email addresses up there, so that's pretty good. Physical memory, 1/2 gig, which is not bad for running just a basic family instance of Nextcloud with some email. That won't give you any issues. Like I said, like some of this stuff I wouldn't buy, but I would probably pick up a dedicated IP address, which is an extra $2 a month. So that's kind of one of the places that I would go. Another place that we've used with a lot of our clients was SiteGround. SiteGround they have your shared, they have hosted, they have dedicated. These plans here were the first ones that I used regularly that supported your Let's Encrypt. By the way, all of these, well, at least these two support Let's Encrypt SSLs, which is great. No, I don't want to do that button yet. Just want to see what else we have. So you'll see they have the free SSLs, which are through Let's Encrypt. These ones here are probably a little bit, these ones might actually be a little bit better than the A2 for the shared hosting. We had a lot of great success with the company. Their prices of their VPSs was quite a bit more, and that's why I went with A2. The last one I picked out is InMotion, which I have not used InMotion, but there's a lot of reputable people I know that have, and they're not an EIG company. And so you can pick up a variety of these, and yeah, these do have free SSLs. I think I went with only servers that had free SSLs. So I will have affiliate links for these down below. If you want to check out one of these 3 hosting companies, check out the links down below. I use them. They're great instances. And like I said, using one of these with a Nextcloud build, you're not going to go wrong. Having your email, having your Nextcloud, and then syncing everything up to there, that's a great way to go. So let me know what you think on digital minimalizing in the comments down below. Check out those affiliate links for any information there. And I'm going to jump off here, and we're going to go back and have a look at the comments because I'm recording this show live. I hope you've enjoyed this video from Switched to Linux. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out the links at the top. There is another video over here. You can check out our Patreon page down here. And you can check out shop.switchtolinux.com for information on a t-shirt like this or some other designs. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.